Enhanced labor entry was created by E2B Technologies for manufacturing companies to simplify and control labor transactions within MAS 500 advanced manufacturing. Functions within the module include the ability to enter multiple job tickets at once, the ability to review the labor entry batch prior to posting the transactions. This is especially valuable for progress step transactions. The ability to quickly enter labor transactions using a grid format, the ability to establish and apply validation rules for labor-related data points that can be enforced to warn, prevent, or require supervisor overrides when the rules are violated. These rules will apply to all labor entry methods, including shop floor control. The ability to post labor transactions in a batch format, the ability to run all labor reports filtered and sorted by batch, the ability to run efficiency reports by batch, and the ability to define a workflow using step complete rules. Validation rules are defined to ensure that entries fall within acceptable tolerances. Rules are defined in the Labor Entry Rules maintenance screen and apply to all labor entry screens. Rules can be created for labor types of runtime, setup, or downtime hours. Select the variable lookup to view the available rule definitions and select the rule that applies. Let's review some of the rule definitions that are available. Current efficiency is used to identify inefficiency at the time production is entered based on the standard. Current hours is used to identify excess hours being entered by setting an acceptable number of hours for each transaction entry. Current scrap pieces is used to identify excess scrap pieces being entered by setting an acceptable limit. Hours to date over standard is used to identify excess hours being entered by setting an acceptable number of hours over the standard hours for production hours to date. Labor max % complete is used to control labor entries where a percentage of prior labor steps should be marked as complete. Labor minimum % complete is used to control labor entries where a percentage of prior labor steps should also be marked as complete. Material issued is used to identify material issues where the previous material step has not been issued. Material outside max % complete is used to identify if prior material issues or outside processing steps have been issued and marked as complete. Material outside minimum % complete is also used to identify if prior material issues or outside processing steps have been issued and marked as complete. Material outside over is used to identify material issues that are greater than the standard quantity. Material outside short is used to identify material issues that are insufficient for the quantity of finished goods produced. Outside issued is used to identify if previous outside process steps have been received in the work order. Previous step complete is used to force steps to be completed in order. Quantity to date variance % is used to identify variances in production quantity. Quantity to date versus prior to date is used to identify the quantity being entered is equal to previous step quantities. Standard efficiency % is used to check production efficiency at the time of labor entry. Total efficiency % is used to identify inefficiency at the time production is entered. Total scrap pieces is used to identify excess scrap pieces at the time production is entered. Select the evaluation criteria related to the variable and compare value. Select the drop-down to view the options. The options are less than, greater than, equal to, less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. Enter the compare value that will be used by the variable and evaluation definitions to determine compliance with the rule, if required by the rule. Select exception type to define how to handle exceptions to the rule related to the variable, evaluation, and compare value definitions. Select the drop-down to view and select the options. Warning will merely warn the user that the rule has been violated. Override will allow the entry to be entered with supervisor override only. Exclude will stop the entry from being entered. Check if the rule should only apply to those labor transactions checked as completed for the work order step. Also, check if the rule should only apply to labor transactions for work order progress steps. Check if the rule should only apply to work order labor transactions in a specific facility and enter the facility ID. Work centers are assigned facilities in MAS 500 and entered on routing and work order labor steps. As I stated earlier, rule definitions will apply to all methods of entering labor for a work order. First, let's look at the labor entry screen. When the entry is finished, any violations of rules will be displayed on the screen. If warning was selected for the rule, select yes to continue or no to exit the entry. If other rules have been violated, they will appear also. If override was selected, an override by an authorized operator will be required. If excuse was selected, the entry cannot be saved. The rules also apply to shop floor data collection, where start and stop job entry is used. If the stop job entry violates a rule, the operator is notified on the screen. This enhancement also contains a batch entry program that allows the entry of many labor transactions at once in a batch, or the use of a grid to collect the entries and then post in a batch. Create the batch by selecting the next number, enter a posting date, and then select Enter Transactions to enter many labor transactions using the normal labor entry screen layout. And when the labor transaction is saved, any rule violations will again appear on the screen. Select Grid Transactions to enter many labor transactions in a grid, which is faster than entering on the normal labor entry screen. The screen can be made longer so that we can view all of the different fields on the view. This is a much easier way to enter timesheets that are collected from operators and entered by an entry clerk. If the same operator is entered as the previous entry, you can just click. It will default in the start time equal to the end time. We can enter the work order number and the step, or do lookups, quantities, any scrap pieces. Our start time defaulted, so we'll enter the ending time. Change the machine, any downtime, and whether or not the step is complete. When you select the next line, if any rules have been violated, again, those rule violations will be displayed on the screen. At any time during the entry process, select Labor Efficiency to view an efficiency report for the transactions entered in the batch. This provides an opportunity to look for possible entry errors and correct them prior to updating the transactions. In this case, we have 500% efficiency on one line and 80% on the other. Perhaps we do have an issue we need to look at before we update this batch. Select Register Post to update the entries. Select the output and proceed. A register of the transactions will appear so that again you can review these prior to actually updating the system. When you're ready to update, select Yes, and the batch is posted. The rules also apply to labor entries using the E2B Batch Process Entry screen. At Register Post, any violations of rules will be displayed on the screen. If warning was selected for the rule, select Yes to continue or No to exit the entry. If other rules have been violated, they will appear also. If override was selected, an override by an authorized operator will be required. If excuse was selected, the entry cannot be saved.